One. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone around. We have another thrilling episode with the Inside Movies Galore crew. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hey.
Oh.
And tonight is going to be hosted by none other than our brother on this podcast, Brandon. So, Brandon, why don't you take the floor and let us know what this movie is about?
All right. This time, I am your host. I am also known as Septum Sen, and we are joined by Dustin.
Hey.
Dave.
Hello.
Red Raven.
Hi.
Katie.
Hello.
Kotobuki Jake.
Hola.
And, of course, myself. And maybe whatever turkeys are lurking in the background. For this Thanksgiving special week, we bring you the 2009 movie Thankskilling by director Jordan Downey. Of course, there will be spoilers in this discussion, so this is your warning. Yes, you have officially been warned.
You've been spoil warned.
Yeah,
Turn back now.
because this is a movie that is so plot heavy that you have to worry about spoilers.
They might miss the nuances. All right, so
Well, it just has surprise, so you'll miss the surprise.
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Jake.
Okay.
To tell me, how did you first get introduced to the great film known as Thanksgiving?
I blame you.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember. Did we watch this with the gaming group or did we just watch it randomly? I can't remember.
We watched it with the gaming group.
Yeah. So that was the first. This was actually, strangely, a second viewing for me. It happened. I will admit the movie has some serious laugh out loud moments, but it's mostly because of how bad those moments are. And it does have some attempts at creativity. It's definitely a different movie from most of what I've seen.
Red Raven, what was is this your first time actually checking this movie out?
Yeah, this was my first time, and I just thought it was awful. It was hard to sit through, and the only good thing about it was that it wasn't very long.
Reach.
And I just, all the close-up shots and the crappy filming, and it was just bad.
Oh.
All right. Katie.
Okay, so this is the first time watch for me, and I didn't actually think it was horrible. Like, it was definitely the most ridiculous movie I've seen in a long time. And, I mean, I'm looking at it in the context of it's a low-budget movie. It's an independent movie. Like, it's not taking itself seriously at all. It's like a parody of a horror movie done really terribly with, like, all the cliched tropes, overused, whatever. All of that is in there, and it's ridiculous, and it's so over the top that I couldn't help but laugh at it because it was so damn cheesy. And there was a lot of one-liners that just made me laugh out loud, and for no other reason than that was ridiculous. And some of the scenes in the movie that were completely 100% ridiculous, which I won't get into just now because I don't want to spoil it for our conversation later. But overall, it was just goofy as hell, and it made me laugh at least. I mean, yeah, it was only an hour, which was good. I actually fell asleep watching it the first time because it just didn't hold my interest at all, and I was tired. But I have to say that at least it made me laugh, which was good. And I think it would be much more fun to watch with a group of people.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really one to sit and watch by yourself. I would have preferred to watch it with a group of people. And I think, live commentary or, Mystery Science Theater style, like just totally rip it apart. It would be fun to do with a group of people. But I appreciate, like, I'm an equal opportunity movie watcher. Like, I really do appreciate the independent stuff and the low budget stuff. It's like, what can you do with your budget? And I don't know. I read somewhere there was like a $50 budget. I don't know if that was a joke or not, but
Yeah, it was a $3,500 budget.
okay. Well, I just saw Brooklyn Ewing's latest movie, and she had a $5,000 budget, and she made an amazing movie with $5,000. So I don't know what that says about this one.
It says it was a scam to launder drug money.
Must have been.
Okay, Dave, I know you usually go, you've been used to going last, so I had to make sure that you go not that close to last. What was your first impressions of it?
Well, this was a first-time watch for me, but I had heard quite a lot about this film from you, Brandon, and many other people, and I've heard that it's a kind of a so bad it's good movie from most people. But having said that, I concur with Katie about the fact that you cannot go through this movie without thinking, with a serious nature. You have to watch this and enjoy it for what it is. Obviously, they were making it up as they were going along. I think I don't feel like this movie was scripted at all.
Yeah, I would be wrong.
I don't feel like it was scripted at all because it's partially animation. It's it's goofy in parts, and you've got a puppet that the mouth doesn't even move. I mean,
All right. Well, finally, we'll get to Dustin. So this was, I'm going to guess, your first time watching this.
First time watching, so a bit of history. I'd heard of the movie before, just kind of seeing it like on the shelf, and I'm like, wonder what that's about. And one of the podcasts I used to listen to when I paid more attention to podcasts, it's called God Awful Movies, and they make fun of religious movies, kind of like a MS3K kind of thing. And if you sponsor them on Patreon, you get access to the bonus show, which is every month they do like a quote-unquote normal movie. So examples of those included like Batman vs. Superman and Star Wars Episode 1. And Thankskilling happened to be one of their bonus episode movies. So I had heard that about a year or two ago when it came out, and I was like, this movie doesn't sound that bad. And then I saw it, and I was like, wow, they kind of undersold how like crap this was. I mean, there are a lot of movies that do this kind of thing, right? Like, I could tell that's what they were trying to do with the low budget, like self-aware, so bad it's good kind of thing. However, nothing they did actually succeeded or worked for me. I mean, like, I saw Trauma's The Slashing early this year, and that movie does what Thankskilling is trying to do, except it does a lot better job, and I actually, like, laughed during that movie. Like, this movie was just, you could tell they had, like, the jokes written down, and, like, the jokes were really funny the way they had them written down, but when it came time to actually shoot or perform them, like, they just couldn't do it right. So, like, nothing in this movie worked. Like, everything about it was just fucking awful. And honestly, I've lost some respect for you for recommending it.
That's all right. I feel like I've lost a little respect from everybody here, at least at one point or another. It's only a matter of time for my turn to come.
Well, did we
especially after I showed you guys one of the best movies ever filmed last week?
Yeah, we'll have to balance it out.
In Brandon's defense, this was not the worst film we watched with the gaming group.
Oh God, no.
Who the fuck is the gaming group?
Actually, I'll go ahead and go over that with my first exposure to it, and then I'll go into the synopsis of the film. my first exposure was in a gaming group. We did tabletop RPGs back a while ago, and what we used to do is we would get together at the apartment and we would watch a movie or something to unwind before we got into the fun. And we tended to try and find some of the more absurd things, like the gaming group was my first introduction to movies like Santa's Sleigh, for instance, which is also an absurdist type movie.
Except done good. Like, I want to see that again.
This movie, to me, it struck a chord in me. I like really absurd comedies. I like things that just make no sense to me. And this movie just kept hitting those chords each and every time. From the cheesy one-liners to the fact that you've got a killer turkey on Thanksgiving going around and killing people.
Well, the fact that it opened up with a pair of tits from a pilgrim.
What happened to the audio?
Yeah, that was completely ridiculous.
That was completely ridiculous. Even though, I mean, you start out with the pilgrim topless as he's running from some kind of thing, and then we see the turkey.
Oh man, that was just right off the bat. Like that sucked because it's like,
that just tells you exactly what it is.
Not really. No, it didn't.
The movie.
What's wrong with a pair of tits?
They weren't great.
Oh, wow.
If you want to, actually, the person Wanda Lust, who actually plays the pilgrim in the first one, was actually a porn star that they looked up on Craigslist and asked if she would be willing to do this part, and she was delighted to do it, which is
Craigslist.
Yeah, and they even noted in the commentary. I actually watched this movie 3 times to prepare for this.
Yeah, star of such hits as Got Milk 42 or
and in
the God Awful Movies episode, they actually read like a long list from her filmography, and that was pretty funny. But that wasn't part of the movie, so it doesn't count.
They even said, if you ever want a porn star to act in your film, just go to Craigslist.
Believe it or not, there is an actual IMDb site for adult porn films. So it's kind of hilarious how articulate they've actually recorded all of these titles for these films.
The synopsis is a pretty straightforward synopsis. It's a bunch of college kids on Thanksgiving break, and they happen to, most of them live in the same little town that just happens to be under an Indian curse that seems to come back every 500-ish years. And
505, didn't they say?
Yes, 505.
And the math, this movie takes place in like 2120 something.
So it apparently happens a little early because a dog micturates on the grave, and
which is not called Lassie, it's called.
I think it was Flashy or Flashy.
Something like that.
All the dogs something different every time they refer to
He was slurring it. I couldn't tell what he said.
Well, the guy looks like he's the kind to slur most of his items. When he first was introduced, apparently he was eating a Burger King hamburger while he was saying his lines. So
He was actually one of my favorite characters, though.
Enjoyable
Which
character.
isn't saying much.
The hero, in a way.
Right.
So I guess we really start off with the just the introduction to the characters after the whole like topless pilgrim scene. Did any of y'all have any character in the group of hapless college students that you particularly felt a bond with?
One thing I wanted to comment on those is I did have to say they felt like they took the archetypal characters and cranked it up to 11 or beyond. Like the one who was a hoe wasn't just a hoe; she was oh.
And then there was that girl that like kept calling her dad. She had to call her dad and check in all the time.
Well, she was a girl.
I'm sorry,
girl,
I
whatever
really
you call
felt
her.
the bond with the hoe.
And then you got the nerd. Wasn't just a nerd; he was the nerd.
Well, he was a turkeyologist.
Yes.
I liked the slut because she at least had the balls to say, "I didn't realize that you were just as dumb as I am."
Right. Well, I like the part where the rabbit flies into the engine. Do you think he's okay?
The fire. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
See, I like the ridiculous guy character. I forgot his name. The like fat guy is always hungry and it's like a big dork. Like,
he was like he looked like if
Really?
he looked like if Larry the Cable Guy had fucked like the Gromble from All Real Monsters, and like that's what they produce.
well, he was my favorite because he always had some ridiculous one-liner that made me laugh.
You know, sadly, I have known people like that character before.
Of like the goof off friend. He's like in every friend group in every movie, and this really pulled from like the 80s slashers where the high school kid looks like he's 30, but he's supposed to be like 17. You know, second string quarterback. And he's got crow's feet. The guy's like 30 years old.
and like shitty Jersey Shore tattoos everywhere.
Yeah.
Kind of like Farley meets Larry the Cable Guy.
Like who?
Chris Farley.
Oh, jeez. Oh, the other guy. Yeah, he was the Chris Farley character, sort of.
Wasn't that even a line at some point? It's like, oh, so and so like Chris Farley, or maybe I imagined
there was something
that.
with the Jean-Benet Ramsey. They kept.
So like she gives that burn like twice in a row.
No, it's like her legs are harder to close than the Jean-Benet Ramsey case. And then like later somebody tries to like repeat it, but they screw it up. It's like their legs are harder to close than Jean-Benet Ramsey's.
Yeah, that's the nerd.
That case at that point in time in 2009 was quite still going on, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but it was kind of sad that they used that exact same line twice from the exact same character.
I think they purposely did that to show how ridiculous she was.
Yeah.
I laughed at the fact that they used it twice.
No, the best illustration of how ridiculous that character, when the character who's the obvious survivor character is that dumb. The part that made me crack up the first time I saw the movie, and it made me crack up the second time, is when they go to her father's house.
And he's got the turkey's got the dad's face on, and she's like, "Oh, hi, Dad," and she bends over, and he's like 2 feet off the ground.
And they do not realize that it's the turkey. Really?
That's what I'm saying. Like that was so ridiculous. It made me laugh out loud. Like, of course.
Well, I mean, like I didn't get anything out of that because it's like I saw it coming, and it was like, yeah, I knew they were gonna do this. Like, so what? Like, I was really ambivalent to it.
I guess I didn't know it was coming that like the turkey was gonna be wearing the dad's face.
Well, I mean, I expected it to be something like that, and so when something like that happened, I was like, all right, yeah, I thought so.
Speaking
like,
of,
it was kind of amazing that they could do a scene like that, but not in any way that was like actually funny. It was sad. I did like the scene where he just like invites the turkey in though, and they have like the small talk. Like, I enjoyed that. I'll give them that.
Well, he almost survived and he said the word duck.
Yeah, called him a duck.
Yeah, he's kind of on a hair trigger for murder.
Well, interesting. The interesting part about that scene is, of course, the father is dressing up for a policeman's ball. And the father is a sheriff's deputy, maybe even a sheriff. I couldn't remember which way it was.
Sure.
I just can't imagine him being a sheriff. Whose wife kind of leaves him in the beginning in the most interesting way.
I almost didn't watch the movie because I heard about that.
And then he's talking to his daughter. By the way, honey, your stepmother left.
Yeah, there's some weird fact about it. It's the whole concept where, and I listened again as they were talking about the film. They were talking about, you always hear this thing about the person complaining, this coffee tastes like shit. Well, we decided to take it one step further. Yeah, where she actually said yes, because I actually took a crap in the coffee.
Yeah, hilarious if you're in the third fucking grade. Like that was the main reason I almost didn't watch the movie, to be honest. Like, I heard about that and I was like, wow, that's so fucking stupid. Like,
well, the father is just, matter of fact, just left me. It makes me wonder how many times this man has been married and had people leave him. But he dresses up for this Thanksgiving costume contest. He even has a note on the refrigerator, win contest, like, a to-do list. And he dresses up like a turkey, whereas Turkey is going in disguised again, because this turkey is a master of disguise, wearing Groucho Marx glasses with a big nose. So you got the turkey dressed up as a human, and the human dressed up as a turkey, sitting down, having coffee, just having a general conversation with one another.
So the logic seems to be that if you're wearing a disguise at all, like, it works, because the turkey seems fooled by the sheriff's turkey costume. It's like, oh yeah, giant turkey. Yeah.
Maybe they went to the Clark Kent school of disguise.
Like, they could have like played that up and like done something good with it, but no, we got like a decent scene out of it, but it really could have been better.
I resent that remark.
What remark?
Oh, that's what Groucho Marx used to always say.
It's been dead for like 100 years. Let it go.
So, what is everybody's take on the turkey lore? I guess the turkeyology, so to speak.
I did enjoy the animation in that sequence because it was so bad.
Well, no, I thought it had the highest production out of anything.
Probably.
I thought the turkey looked terrible. They could have done a better turkey than that. It looked like, some little kid made it in a 5th grade art project.
Yeah, you could tell it was a puppet. I mean, like, it was like they didn't take like the seam lines off of it. Like, you could tell they had just like taken it out of the mold and they didn't even bother to like trim the extra off. So you could tell it was just like rubber or something. Like, you could tell there's somebody's hand. You could tell there was somebody's hand in it most of the time. There's even a couple of scenes where you can see somebody like squatting like on camera, like holding it and like manipulating the head. Like,
apparently the director who was doing it. So
it's like, yeah, he saw his finished project and it was like, oh yeah, it was intentional. I meant to do that. Right? I'm betting that's how it went.
The whole idea that they put out is that if you have to try and figure out a way to take the film seriously, as in, look at it as a serious horror film, then you're obviously watching the film wrong.
Well, I wasn't watching it seriously. God damn it.
The way I was watching it was like, the more below the production value, the funnier I thought it was.
I watch movies. I do watch and enjoy movies with this kind of humor, and I do get it. It's just that it didn't work. Like, it just didn't do a good job at it.
Well, it didn't work for you. That's fair.
I just thought the filming was terrible too. I couldn't stand all those close-ups, and it was just the quality in the filming was just terrible.
It was shot pretty shittily, yeah.
And again, this is a first project of a group of college kids.
Hopefully they never made anything else.
Well, they made the sequel.
The sequels. like, here's the thing. Everybody has to start somewhere with making a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when you have no money and no resources but you really want to do this thing, most filmmakers make a movie and they don't know who's ever going to see it. They're just trying to do their art. And I have a really hard time criticizing how other people do their art when, as an artist myself, I have to start somewhere too. Like, I don't always have the money or the equipment or the means to do the highest production of what I want to do, but it doesn't stop me from doing it. And so when I look at a movie like this, I see that somebody put the effort into doing it. It was ridiculous. It's not one that I would particularly rate high. I've seen other independent horror films that I think are better movies or whatever, but they went after something. They did enough that there was things that made me chuckle. There was things where I was like, oh my God, like I had a reaction to it. So in my eyes, that's a successful venture when somebody can make a movie that I have a reaction to one way or the other, even if I hate it. It's like it made me feel something. It made me have some kind of response. And this, for as ridiculous as it was like a funny laugh. Like, if I was thinking, like, if my friends made this movie, I would have thought it was hilarious, and I would never say it was trash and garbage. Like, it's not the greatest movie, but if my friends made it, especially, I would think at least they did something that was campy in a way that we could make fun of it, and it would be a fun thing. So that's sort of how I watched this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree. When we first watched it, it was with a group of people. And it really is fun to watch a movie like you've got a whole group with you, just laughing around at the one-liners, making comments. It's that kind of film.
Absolutely.
I had my wife with me watching it the second time.
I could see this as being a film where a group of college kids could drink to it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's some drinking games in that one, I'm sure of it.
Definitely.
Oh, substances were involved in my first watch through of this one when I tried it again for the 3 times.
I can imagine how that would make it more fun.
In my day, we had way better drinking games. Flashback, hitting himself in the hand with a hammer. It's like, you win! Drink the beer! Alright, what do I win? Another beer!
Yeah!
Now, the acting in this film is particularly bad. I don't think anybody would try and argue that the acting is good in this.
They were just like the dude's friends, right? Like they weren't actual actors in any way.
Several of them were actually trained acting majors.
Hopefully they switch majors.
The jock guy definitely did a better job, I think, than some of the other, like the jock guy and then the goof off guy. Those two guys seemed like their acting was actually fairly decent. The lead girl, the like girl next door girl with the sheriff dad, her acting was the most garbage of all of them.
I didn't like her acting at all. She was like the plain Jane of the group.
She was like the only character I could stand. Yeah.
She was so monotone and boring.
The slut actually acted like a slut, so.
A really, really dumb slut.
Like I said, it's just a little over the top there.
Do you think it's okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
Actually had to stop when they had to refilm scenes for acting. It was because they felt that the actors were doing too good a job of trying to sell the character, and they would have them dumb down the acting on purpose in order to try and move comedic value, because the goal behind the film, supposedly anyway, according to what they said, was they had been watching a lot of bad movies, and they would see movies that were bad, and they were just like, this is terrible, I hate watching it. But then they're the so bad it's good. And they said, well, this is something that happens by chance a lot of the time, because they're not out to make a too bad it's good movie. They're not even out to make a bad movie. It just happens that way. What if we tried to put out a formula to make a good bad movie? And that's where they were really going at this.
It's such a good scam because, I mean, there's no way to disprove it. Ugh.
What do we think?
I don't think it's a good bad movie. I think it's an okay bad movie.
It's just a bad movie. Like, there's nothing. It doesn't have anything going for it. Like, I don't understand why we keep defending it.
So you probably would appreciate.
Because maybe we don't all feel the same way. That's what makes for interesting discussion when not everyone has the same opinion.
Opinions can be wrong.
No, there is no right or wrong when it comes to interpreting art. Sorry.
Yes, indeed, art.
Yes. Isn't almost everything based on opinion anyway these days?
Art spelled with an F.
So we talked about the character of the sort of not so smart slut character. What did you all think of the scene where she meets her end?
That was pretty dumb.
Over the top ridiculous.
That
like
was
turkey puppet sex. Need I say more?
Well, I certainly
gravy flavored.
I did find that funny that they had that the turkey even wasn't willing to. The turkey felt like he needed a condom for this particular.
Right.
Yeah, the gravy flavored condom.
One thing that really annoyed me is the fact that we didn't get to see the full, turkey. And I know it was a puppet, but just that filming of the turkey was just really annoying. The way they had the close-ups.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they had.
Production value.
I don't think they even had like a full turkey. I mean, you got kind of like a good glimpse at like something like near the end, but I suspect they didn't even have like a full prop. It was like, oh, we're doing a good bad movie. We don't even need to make a full prop.
They showed
whatever bullshit excuse they have.
They show the whole puppet throughout, but only in pieces. Like you see the legs in that particular death scene, as several of them are like propped up on top of her. But you also see how the girth of the turkey as they are tying the rope, but of course they couldn't show all of it because of the puppet.
Well, don't worry, they burned the puppet at the stake in the end.
So what about the music? We talk about the music in this, and they had a few.
I did like the music, like not like the random songs they had. Like I didn't like those, but I did like their kind of like synth theme. Like that was nice.
Yeah.
I agree.
In fact, yeah, they did have a decent 80s synth like thing going on there. So I think it was an original synth for the film. So.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they did okay. What do we think? There's something about the wording, the credits.
I like the credits scene. The opening scene you're talking about with the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that opening scene was probably one of the best parts of the movie.
How little did you know what you were about to get into?
No, pretty quick.
Or what you saw the puppet get into.
Mm-hmm.
So what about Turkey? What are y'all's thoughts on Turkey as a character?
Sucks.
Character?
I think it was a good concept. They just could have done it way better.
Yep.
If they would have taken this and done it a different way and had more money, it would have been way better.
Honestly, I think he's a little too crude. If he'd been a little less crude,
I thought it was just as bad as the puppet that came up in another Wolf Cop.
Well, the Wolf Cop movies like had much better effects. I mean, like you can't seriously be making that comparison.
In the second film, that stomach puppet. I'm sorry, that was just horrible.
Well, it's better than this. Fuck you, Dave. Yeah.
Oh boy. The turkey really reminded me of a Trauma-esque character, where it sort of felt like his attitude and his crudeness could have been straight out of a Trauma movie.
Good.
I see that now.
To a degree, yeah, but like the Trauma stuff usually has some cleverness to it, and this just didn't.
Yeah, there was attempts at cleverness.
Well, I mean, their idea of it's like, oh, the turkey will say "bitch" a bunch of times. That's hilarious, right? And it's like, well, it is
also
if you
made
do it
10 years
right.
ago.
So that
It was also from.
it's-
If you would have seen it 10 years ago, you might have thought differently. I think
thought it was
some of
from
the
90. I thought this was from 97. Is it really only 10 years old?
yeah, it's like 2009, I think.
Wow.
But I think like the tropes have been reinforced for 10 more years, which, you know, maybe now if you wanted to make a horror movie parody, you might go in a different direction. But I was trying to sort of think of it in that context of 10 years ago.
Well, just watch Trauma's The Slashing. Like, just do that. Like, yeah.
Well, you know, whatever. I just watch whatever movies I'm supposed to watch for the podcast because that's how it works. I can't wait to hear your opinion on next week's movie.
What is next week's movie?
Next week's movie is actually picked by Katie Red Raven here, and it is Deathgasm.
Oh, is that like that like metal thing?
Yeah, it's so awesome.
I've been wanting to see that for a long time. Like, see, why couldn't you have picked this week instead of?
Well, it was Thanksgiving, and there were
holiday episode.
There are better Thanksgiving movies. Let's be honest. I mean, we've got Charlie Brown. We've got probably other things. I mean,
okay, next year we'll pick Turkey Hollow.
I'm sure it's better.
The one-liners in this film are just as much a part of the turkey character as the turkey itself.
He's kind of like a wannabe Freddy.
I kind of got that too.
One-liners are pretty much the heart of what he is.
Wannabe what?
Gobble your
Freddy
dead
Krueger.
bitch. And it's like, yeah.
Like I was saying before, I mean, the script wasn't horrible. It was just the acting and the way it was all put together.
I mean, the liners like "you just got stuffed" or
this one where the jock was sitting after they thought that the turkey was dead. They were sitting down, and he was like, "Do you want to go out with me?" And she's like, "Sure." And he's like, "Cool. Did you hear that? She wanted to go out with me. Rad."
Yeah. I like how after they think the turkey's dead, the random off the cuff thing of like, well, you think he's dead? Well, yeah, unless he fell in a pile of toxic waste. But yeah, what are the odds of that? You know.
Yeah, which of course the suburban like trash can that they put him in is just full of the stuff.
Yes, I loved how they had as you said, a roadside trash bin with radioactive waste on the side. It's just sitting there open, you know.
It kind of reminds me of Redneck Zombies in that way.
Eggs, turkey.
Well, that's definitely a zombie trope from Return of the Living Dead. You know, the toxic waste.
Oh yeah.
Or the green.
4, 5 packs.
And then again, another example of, you know, bad but great movie because it's bad. Like, I don't even know if I could like actually call that movie bad though.
Which movie?
Redneck Zombies.
Oh.
Well, I had a hard time with that one.
But you were okay with this?
As I say, everybody has a different way of looking at it. To me,
pick Redneck Zombies, so.
This is an inquest, not an episode.
To me, the absurdity of it all, the fact that you've got a turkey going around slaughtering people, the idea that everything is almost Thanksgiving themed, all of the one-liners like "I'll drink your blood like cranberry sauce," or
but you don't drink cranberry sauce. God fucking damn it!
Some people
You haven't been around my house for Thanksgiving.
Hey, what do you call cranberry ocean spray?
Juice, not sauce, you freak.
Just pour some gelatin in, and then it is.
Or even at the end, where they finally figure out how to kill Turkey in the end, and they're going around and they find the turkey in his teepee, and he's making his salad. Of course, they even say in the film, if you look careful, you can see the garage door from where we had the original teepee set up.
What? Daughter, did you say tossed? You're not supposed to be tossing in the car.
But that they actually had to burn the turkey at the stake. And I always thought it was just an entertaining...
Say something demonic backwards.
Yes.
We say okay, I did get a laugh at the line. Okay, and we say the demonic prayer, and it's like, wait, how would that help?
Well, to reverse the process of necromancy, wouldn't you have to read it to them backwards so that they?
Oh no! What they should have done with that was it's like, okay, you have to read the demonic prayer, and that'll kill it. And then instead of killing it, it like grows spikes or something. it upgrades it. Like that would have been. I would have enjoyed that.
Well, one thing that we usually talk about, and I had forgotten about this, is the special effects, which varies throughout. There were some fairly legit gore effects in this film. Things like when the turkey burst out of a person's chest, or when they
had enough to do so.
Meh. I saw the Blue Underground 4K restoration of the Lucio Fulci zombie today, so I was kind of like, at the gore in this.
Well, that's a very different level.
Yeah, they had a few $100s. Yeah, I guess they did all right with it.
I mean,
one effect I didn't much like was when the turkey went radioactive. That just really looked silly.
It probably worked better if they just put like glow stick fluid on it instead of trying like After Effects or whatever that was.
Or glow in the dark silly putty at least.
Wait, there's glow in the dark silly putty?
Yeah.
Did they really
I
do
didn't know that.
No.
Wow. Lazier than I thought.
Did anybody have a favorite scene from the film?
Well, we already shared mine where they like sit down to talk. And it's like, so, coffee?
I just love that he had the glasses with the nose.
Yeah.
Like, I love anytime someone uses that as a disguise and it works. It makes me laugh because it's so stupid.
Well, and it was just so awkward. I mean, how do you sit across when both of you are disguised? You know, I mean, it's like so. It's like that part in the beginning of Dr. Doodle a little, where the dog is sitting at the. So I'm Rover, and I'm a dog, and I'm a stray.
Snakes, blog.
I'm a stray.
There you go. Well, yeah, and to me, it's already been mentioned. My favorite scene, which was when they were actually fooled by the turkey's disguise as the father, and the fact that he actually decides to play it out with them instead of trying to slaughter them first minute.
That was probably my favorite too, because it was very much like a Leatherface thing, and I thought it was so ridiculous that the daughter was like, "Oh, hi, Dad!" Like,
Yeah.
of course, your dad's a turkey now that's 2 feet tall.
I don't like father, like daughter.
Yeah, they're both
Yeah, he wasn't
idiots.
exactly the coldest beer in the fridge either.
So that's why her acting was so bad. She was a turkey. Yeah, there were a lot of one-liners in here, and They could have done better, but you know, you have to have an imagination for this kind of level of stupidity. So,
I do have an imagination. It's just that, again, like I could tell everything they were trying to do, and if they'd pulled it off differently, it would have been a different story. But it just did not work. Like, it gives me a headache here.
There was a sequel to this. It has an odd story to it. After they finished it, they didn't expect it to be anything more than what you would have than what I think, Katie, you had said. You know, something to show your friends or a couple of people just to say, "Look at the stupid thing we did." Instead, it took off. It had a huge underground following.
Yeah, not immediately.
The second one or
the first one? This one actually still does have a huge underground following, and they put up a Kickstarter just as a joke to see if they could actually get money for a sequel, and they got, I think, over $300,000 for it.
Jeez.
yeah.
Wow.
so you said you saw the second one?
Yes, the second one is called Thankskilling 3.
Of course.
And the sequel is the reason why they don't have Thankskilling 2 is it is a part of the joke, is that Thankskilling 2 was such a bad film that they destroyed all but one copy of it in existence. And it does follow along their line at the end where they talk about the turkey going to space.
Yeah.
Was it as bad as this one, though?
No, oddly enough.
Sure.
It's a different thing. You saw it, didn't you, Jacob?
What?
The third one?
I have not yet, no. I did like this one little tidbit. Like you said, it took off, but it didn't do it right away. And I like this little tidbit that I see here that says, at first, no one wanted to distribute the film, so the filmmakers sold the DVD on Amazon themselves. It took a year to sell 1,000 copies.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, they took off.
It's amazing what word of mouth will do.
Yeah. But, yeah, I know when you got the third one, I wanted to see it, and it just didn't happen. And it's probably fine. I don't know that I missed much.
It's a very different film. It really has more shades of films like, gosh, what was that one that Peter Jackson did?
Dead Alive?
Where he had...
Bad Taste?
Hmm?
Bad Taste?
No, not Bad Taste. It was the other one. Gosh.
Meet the Feebles?
Yes, Meet the Feebles. Thank you. It had a lot towards that. The acting was better. The budget was like worlds better. They used a lot of puppets in that one. It really did feel like a very different movie. I'm still not sure what I think about that one, to tell you the truth, other than it was definitely different. But
if you think this film was bad, there's a Brazilian one that was even worse.
Are we trying to get worse? Are we trying to like go to the furthest down that we can go?
This one had marionetted dead rabbit carcasses. And it was called Mamilas em Chamas. So, there's a level of depravity that you kind of have to go to some of these levels, but enough said. The blood was still on the carcass. So.
Well, I mean, absurdist horror has definitely always been around, and it's been around for a while. I mean, you've had movies like Night of the Lepus, yeah, about killer rabbits. You had you had frogs. We did that one on this one.
Yeah.
You had Deathbed, which is about a bed that is the spawn of a woman and Satan.
There's The Curse too, which I saw earlier this week. it's kind of hard to explain what that is quickly. Basically, this toxic junk from outer space gets into a population of snakes somehow. Somebody gets bitten by one of them, and on the hand, and his hand turns into a snake. It's kind of bland, despite how awesome that sounds, but it's about a 6.5 out of 10. It's okay.
Oversent drug suckers from Mars.
Hey, that was a good one. I like that one.
It has vacuum.
We would.
Gravity, that too.
But
it's bad, but I like bad movies. It's basically a romance between a vacuum and what was it? A hand vacuum?
Yeah, it starts off with a vacuum raping a woman, and then they have a child together.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
A Hoover. Right.
Wow.
But there are a whole bunch of movies in that absurdist column that, of course, had preceded this. But still, there is a part of me that still has a love for those types of films, and that's part of why I still have and will always have a special place in my heart for Thankskilling.
I think that's fair. You're entitled to that.
Yeah. You're entitled to it.
Though it is not my favorite film, and I do not try and hold it up as an artistic piece or a great piece or anything like that.
Contrary to what he said earlier, there was no mention of Thankskilling in our Criterion video.
But you want it to reach the level of Criterion, don't you?
Actually, we came across an idea for a series that's the antithesis to Criterion called Tinfoil Collection.
Yeah.
Where they do tinfoil slipcovers, and it's of movies that are just terrible movies, and instead of the world's greatest films, it's the world's worst films of all time that get released with this.
Tinfoil slipcover.
Yeah, tinfoil slipcover. The Tinfoil Collection.
Well, there's like the platinum collections and the diamond collections and gold collections and all that stuff.
Can this tinfoil have artwork on it?
What?
Have artwork on it?
Yeah.
Weird.
Though there are plenty of films that could go in that collection, this one would not quite make the cut for me. Films like Artifacts, or Mr. Jingles, they'd make that cut for me, but not quite this one.
Artifacts was so dull. So dull.
I would have to say The Return of the Boogeyman would go in the tinfoil pile.
And then, of course, everyone's favorite, Titanic, The Legend Goes On.
The what?
It's a sequel to Titanic.
Yeah.
The Legend Goes On.
Animated film from Italy that tried not only crapped all over the memory of everyone on that ship, but they tried to rip off every Disney and Don Bluth film they could, and they had a rapping dog.
What?
Wow.
What?
See, they're doing bad movies good. Like, that sounds amazing. Like, what the fuck? I can't. I just can't with you guys.
But with that, is there anybody else that has anything else they want to finish up with this, or that they wanted to say before we wrap up on it? I'm pretty sure it sounds like we're getting to where we're just dispersing.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Gobble gobble, motherfucker.
All right. So I guess then we will go on with the outros. Well, why don't we just start with Dustin, if you give us your info.
Oh, right. Well, I live here in Milwaukee. I collect horror movies, figures, vinyl, whatever. I show my collection off on my Instagram account, DHR Hunter. And I'm also launching either today or tomorrow my own channel for unboxing and reviews called The Crypt of Horrors. It's technically already up. I just don't have much content put up there yet. I've shot like a bunch of stuff. I just need to edit and process it, which has been kind of challenging due to my current other time commitments. I'm also supposed to be an editor for Inside Movies Galore and plan to actually write stuff there if I ever get the time again. But we started grad school, so challenges. But yeah, you can also follow me on Twitter at The Crypt of Horrors or something. I can't remember. Just look up The Crypt of Horrors. I'm in a Michael Myers costume. How many of them could there be? And yeah, go watch Terrifier.
All right, Dave.
Well, I run Movies Galore Milwaukee as well as Inside Movies Galore normally, but I think that that Inside Movies Galore has kind of become a joint effort on all of us involved. So I'm gonna say we all run it now. So in a sense, but go ahead and check out some of the reviews that I put out. Especially Brittany Blanton's recent short film review. That was a cool little short film that I saw. And also check out Samuel Van Nissy's interview, as well as an interview I did yesterday with one of the co-founders of Concept Media. Tomorrow I have an interview with a young lady from Sweden. So stay tuned for that as well.
Love the Doomed review.
The what?
Oh, I did a review on the Fantastic Four Doomed documentary. So definitely check that out as well. Wow, that was fun. What happened is the Doomed, the untold story of Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four. It's directed by a guy by the name of Marty Langford, and he put out publicly that he was pressing copies of both his documentary and a copy with the Roger Corman produced Fantastic Four from the 1990s with a director's commentary on Blu-ray. So for $15, I was able to pick up both on Blu-ray, which was kind of cool. So even though they're bootlegged from the directors, they're technically sanctioned by the real director of the Fantastic Four. So it was kind of cool. In any case.
All right, Red Raven.
I'm Red Raven, and I'm from Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and I book shows in the Milwaukee area, and I'm also a dead girl at Deadger's Dark Coffin Classics.
Awesome.
Katie?
I'm Katie Cadaver from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm a body positive horror artist and alternative model, and I'm on Patreon and Instagram. You can find my handle on Instagram at 3RDEYE0PEN. I'm also the makeup artist for horror punk band Ratbat Spider. You can listen to them at ratbatspider.bandcamp.com. They also have a show coming up on Saturday, December 1st, and it's they're playing as part of Krampus Fest, which is an annual benefit show that benefits creates proceeds that benefit drug addiction awareness and the Fourth Dimension Sobriety House in Milwaukee. And they will be playing with a bunch of other bands. It's actually a 2-night event, Friday and Saturday. They are playing Saturday night. So come check that out. And speaking of makeup, I just competed in competition this past weekend at Days of the Dead Chicago, their makeup effects competition, and actually was able to win second place in that. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I won 6 months to the Stan Winston School for Character Art. So I'll have to let you guys know what that's like. And
is it like an online thing, or?
Yeah, it's an online program where I can access, all of the tutorials and stuff on how to do things. So
I guess
I'm really excited to check that out.
Stan Winston creature effects.
Yeah, maybe I'll create my own pumpkin head or something. We'll see.
Or you can create your own.
Right. Anyway, I'm also a Dead Girl for Dead Girls Dark Coffin Classics, a horror TV show. You can watch episodes at vimeo.com/DDCC. I also perform and produce for Grindhouse Tees Burlesque. You can find us on Facebook. And I'm also an editor for Movies Galore of Milwaukee. And I actually recently posted a review that I put on my Facebook page. I was able to see the follow-up to She Was So Pretty, She Was So Pretty, Be Good for Goodness Sake, the part 2 in the series, and it was amazing. Like, production-wise, leaps and bounds above the first one.
You beat yet?
What's that?
Were you able to get a copy of it yet?
Nope, it is not out yet, but they're going to be releasing it on Blu-ray. Actually, both of the films will be on one disc. So that's coming probably like in January. So I'm watching for that. And I'm excited to get that because I'm hoping we can review the part 2. And you guys, what a difference. They were able to get like a $5,000 budget for the second one. So it's really cool. If you haven't, go check out that review that I wrote on it. If you're interested in the part 2 of that. And other than that, I'm a Tromet for Trauma Entertainment. And you can find all the best trauma stuff at trauma.com. And I think for next week on the show, we talked about doing Deathgasm, right?
Yep.
Figured I'd just throw that out there too.
I'm hyped. I've heard good stuff about that.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool movie. I like it.
Oh, so Kotobuki Jake.
Hi, well, I'm Kotobuki Jake, and I frequently guest on Septum Sin vs. World, where we speak of our love for physical media. We're both obsessed collectors and definitely collect a lot of physical media in various forms. And we've got a big video coming up this week. Bear with us. Choose time to watch it in segments, perhaps. It's the top 15 items that need a Criterion release that we, according to us, not necessarily the ones that need it the most, but the ones that we would rush out and get in a heartbeat. And that was a lot of fun. That was a long time coming, and I enjoyed that a lot. We've got, I have my own channel as well, Kotobuki Jake, more nature themed, very rarely updated, but it is there, and I intend to update it occasionally. And other than that, I do occasionally do solo videos. I've started a series reviewing my own copies of Criterion ones, where I look at all of the stuff, which means that most of these videos are going to take a while to get out because most of them have a lot of bonus features. But I've got one video up and another one to be filmed sometime this week. And I guess that's all I got for now.
Well, and finally, I am Septum Sen from Septum Sen versus the World. We are a channel that values physical media and it's all of its various forms. And of course, the video is 2.5 hours in length. So really long top 15. But that should be out just in time for Thanksgiving. I've actually just finished the editing and hope to review it to make sure right after this. So that will be up soon. Otherwise, we do try and do different discussions. I might even do a revisit to Thankskilling as a review, as I do film reviews from time to time, both for our channel and for Movies Galore. And in general, that's pretty much it. So I guess that's it. Unless anybody else has anything else, I guess we can say goodnight.
Alrighty.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Like, share, and subscribe. God damn it.
Alrighty.